It's time to start manually controlling our LED with a button. To get started, we're going to open up Thonny, and then we're going to save our file by going to Save, and we're going to type in manually controlling the LED.py. Then at the top, we're going to click Enter to save that program. Then, now that it's saved, we have manually controlling the LED. We're going to start typing our first program. We're going to say from GPIO 0, import LED. Make sure this is all capitals. Then we have a comma, and then capital B for the word button. Then from time, import sleep. So our sleep command is going to be essentially our wait command, and this is allowing us to use both the LED and the button. Now, I have the LED currently set up in pin number 17, which is 6 down from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have my button in GPIO pin number 2, which is just 1, 2 down. Once I've set that up, I'm going to write button.wait_for_press, LED.on, sleep 3, and LED.off. So that's going to allow us to wait for the button to be pressed, turn it on, wait 3 seconds, and then turn off, and then the program finishes because there's no code left. So I'm going to go ahead and run this program. You guys can pause the video and copy it. But when you click run, you'll see the program's running. I go down to my circuit, and I'm going to click on my button, and your light should turn on for 3 seconds and then turn off. If I click the button again, the program has finished, so there's nothing left to be done. I can run it again if I click on stop, and then I run the program, and then it would work again. So we're going to modify this in a part 2 in order to get this working whenever we want to push the button. So we're going to make a switch. So to make that switch, we're going to make a new code. We're going to copy all of our code, and we are going to click New. We're going to paste this code into our new program. Again, we're going to click Save, and this time we're going to call it Manually Controlling the LED Part 2. So we're going to add a Part 2, hit Enter, and then we have our second part of the program, which I've already done, so I'm going to cancel that. All right, so for Part 2, we're going to modify our code. So when we originally have the program, it's going to look like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep everything from line 1 through 5. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a new command before button wait for press, which is going to write while true. So while is all lowercase, space capital TRUE, and then we're going to use a colon, which is shift semicolon, to add that colon to the end of the line. Then I'm going to take all of this code and select it, and I'm going to hit the tab key in order to give that an indent. That way you have that space to show that this grouping of code is part of this while loop. So we have button wait for press, and then instead of on sleep off, I'm going to get rid of those lines, and I'm going to instead type led.toggle. Toggle is a feature that is built into the GPIO 0 library that allows the LED light to be toggling on, off. So I'm going to add my parentheses in, and then after I do LED toggle, I want to wait a certain amount of time before it toggles. So I'm going to say sleep as my wait commands, and I'm going to do, let's say, 0.5 seconds. So half of 1 second. So sleep 0.5. So I'm going to stop my program, and then I'm going to run this, and I'll look down at my breadboard and my circuit, and I'll click the button, and I click it, the light turns on. I click it, the light turns off, and there's a wait time of 0.5 seconds. So if I click this twice, 1, 2, it doesn't turn on off, it just turns once, because you can only toggle it every 0.5 seconds. If you change this number to be smaller instead of 0.5, you can kind of control it more. Or if I stop the program and run it, I now have 0.1. I can click it faster, and it will now turn on and off a little bit better. And if I just hold down on it, it will keep toggling, because that's what the feature does. You'll notice that I'm holding it, and it will keep toggling. So I can kind of act as like, if I can act fast enough, I can act like it's a switch, but technically all it's doing is I'm releasing it upon its other toggled state. So toggle will make it toggle on and off, and continue doing that forever because I'm using a while true loop. So this while loop will, continue running while the true thing is, in the part that's true is while it's pressed, it will do the stuff below. So we can use that while loop in order to toggle it, and that is manually controlling the LED, part 2. The next part is, instead of having it toggle, what if we actually wanted it to, when we press it once, it will actually, upon press, turn on, and upon release, turn off. So we're going to then take our code that we currently have. Again, we're going to copy it. We're going to click New. We're going to paste that in, and we're going to save again. We're going to call this manually controlling part 3.py, and then we're going to add that and hit Enter. And once we hit Enter, we are going to now modify this manually controlling code part 3. So with what we currently have, we are going to keep everything from lines 1 through 5 the same, and then we're going to modify the while loop to look a little bit differently. So we're going to say, instead of while true, button wait for press, I'm going to just get rid of all of that. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to say button, instead of wait for press, I'm going to say button when pressed. So button dot when, and then underscore pressed. So button when pressed is equal to LED dot on. We're going to just say that when it's pressed, we want the LED to be on. Then instead of button when pressed, we're going to say button when released, LED dot off. So we're going to change the word pressed to the word released, REL, and then LED dot off. So button when pressed, LED on, button when released, LED dot off. So if I run this code, I'm going to stop it. We have to add something still. But if I run this code, if I press the button, the LED will be on. If I release the button, the LED will be off. And this should only work once, but it ends up working more than one time. In fact, anytime you push the button, as long as the code's still running, it continues. But the only reason that it's continuing, technically speaking, when the code gets to the end of the 8 lines of code, it should turn off. Thonny, the code editor in the background, is keeping this running. In other code editors, it might not, so we need to add in a pause command. So we're going to add another library in, and we're going to say from signal, we're going to import pause. Pause is a function that will allow the code to stop temporarily. I don't need the parentheses there. And it will, allow it to keep running. So I'm going to just type the word pause at the very end, and then this is going to allow it to run forever, no matter what code editor that you're in, even if it's not Thonny. So now this program will pause at the end, and it will, stop waiting for input. It will allow the code to work exactly as is. When you push it down, it turns on. When you release it, it turns off. So those are the 3 parts of manually controlling the LED and turning it into a switch. You can submit a video showcasing part 1, part 2, and part 3. Again, part 1 was simply push the button, and it will, I have to stop the code. Part 1 is pushing the button, and it will just turn on for 3 seconds and turn off. Part 2, stop the code again. Part 2 is the toggle feature, where you hold it down and it will keep toggling, and it will toggle based on whatever your sleep command is. And then if I stop it again, part 3 is using the when pressed and when released. I can press it and release it, and it will turn on and off based off of whether it's being pushed down, and pause will keep it running. So that is parts manually controlling the LED and making a switch. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed.